Three-Ring Circus. This is a competitive game published by Devere in which the players will be creating, managing and growing their circuses and travel around North America. There's also Barnum, a non-player agent who will travel around and trigger scoring at certain specific areas because, El Grande was a great game, so why not borrow some ideas from it? And, well, at the end of the game, the player with the most points will win the game. The box is not very small, but it's pretty heavy because you got a board, you got a number of player boards, you have wooden components. I love these. I just lost one. There you go. I love these adorable circus tents. One thing about the board, although it looks really nice, it's a bit crowded and it's just a little too small. I wish it was a little bigger because when you start having circus tents all over the place, it can get a little too crowded. In any case, the board represents, well, the place where our circuses will travel. Well, up there we have the three types of cards that we are going to collect during the game. Victory point cards that will give you different amounts of points at the end of the game based on different conditions indicated on top. Money cards that we draw randomly from the deck. As you can see, there isn't a display, and they represent both performers and also they can be spent to generate money, as you can see there. So the number that you see there is the cost to play that as a performer in my circus, or if I discard it, it is how much money it generates. So I could discard the dog to hire this one and place it. Nope, not this expensive. Two dogs. Dog and a llama. Dog and a llama. 2 and 2. To place this one in my personal tableau. We'll talk about that in a minute. The other type of card is called ticket card, and this time it's only performers. They don't have value in terms of money. And so what you see, the number you see in the top left corner is simply the cost that you need to discard in terms of money. For this one, there is a display. There is a display there, of course, that are available. Also, you can see there are three different types based on the symbol in the top left corner. That is super important. Plus special things that they give you once they are in your tableau. Popcorn means victory points, so that's definitely something that you want to go for. Victory points, I mean. One thing, that display doesn't refresh, so if there isn't anything there that interests players, it can be a little bit of a problem. Then looking at the map, we have three types of places where our players can perform and basically collect money. You have small towns, and that's just the way it is. You see the tiny towns. Then we have larger towns such as Buffalo or Philadelphia, New Haven, Providence. Those receive a random tile at the beginning of the game. So there may be, there you go, variation there. And that simply means that certain kind of performers will be more beneficial in certain towns. And then we have the big cities, Washington, New York, Boston, Indianapolis, of course. So they're probably already thinking, about Gen Con back in the, like, oh my gosh, I wish they had Gen Con. And Chicago. These are worth a lot of points if you can perform there. As you can see, these also get cards at the beginning of the game, so these things will also change from game to game. And they require a type of artist that is mandatory. So if I want to perform in the city that has this card, I must have this this type of performer in my tableau. And I would score 6 points, not shabby. But it really gets good if the performer that is mandatory is in combination with other ones in the correct position. So, for example, if in a line of my tableau I have this one and on its left I have that one, then I also score 4 points. And if I have the mandatory and this other one again in the direction of the arrow, that would be right in this guy, in this type, in this case, then I score these other points. And of course, some people will be sitting on the other side of the board, will be looking at the card like this, and I know that at least I did once something like this, which was pretty annoying because I had the mandatory and I completely messed up. And the game is pretty tight. If you mess up the position of things, well, too bad. It's going to be messed up. So, then we talk about the fact that people have a personal display. That is where you will build your tableau. Tableau building being one of the main mechanics of the game. A mechanic that, incidentally, I like very much. So, we mentioned some of those cards, and so we have 3 slots here where you can place your victory cards. To score them at the end of the game, they need to be in your tableau. It's not good enough that they are in your hand. Also, you will get to play one of these victory cards each time you complete one of the first 3 rows, as indicated also by these stars here as a reminder. And so, for example, suppose that these are the cards that I placed in my tableau, then I get to play that card there. During your turn, you will take one of 2 actions. Action number 1, you engage somebody, so you're hiring somebody. And as I said, the idea is you will discard 1 or more money cards, looking only at the value they generate. For example, I discard this one. And you can hire somebody with the same value or lower. So I discard the dog to hire this guy. Now my circus has 3 rings, each represented by arrow on my display. When I can play in any that has an open slot, but with one interesting rule. The show needs to become increasingly more interesting. So the values here, they have to be in strict increasing order from left to right. So if I play this one here, it will slide down any card that is there so that we still go from the lower numbers to the higher numbers. That also means that you cannot have 2 cards with the same value because, again, remember, the show must go on and the value must go up. So I wouldn't be able to play this one here or here because it's 4 and 4. I could play it here. When I play a card in my display, and if I cover an icon, then I gain an advantage. In this case here, I will collect a ticket card. Here I will collect a money card. If I play this one and I cover that one. But there are icons on the board that give you good stuff. And if you cover it, well, then you don't have it anymore. So, for example, these icons allow you to move. And so the more you cover them, the less you can move. Things like that. Pedestals, so there will be cards that give you pedestals, especially if they work in synergy with one another. There's also a pedestal there. If you cover it, well, you lose a pedestal. And pedestal is important to meet the conditions of medium-sized towns on the board. So this is the general idea of, building your tableau. Engage an artist, play it in your personal display and see if there are other actions triggered by that. But of course, we do all of these things because we want to perform. And so we have the other action. If you're not engaging a new artist, then you are performing. You must do one of those 2 things. To perform, you move a number of locations up to the number of train icons on your display. Remember those? Right now, for example, 1, 2, 3. I could move by 3. And suppose that's what I do. 1, 2, 3. If I end up in a small town, all I'm going to do is to collect money. I collect 1 money card just for the pleasure of performing, plus a money card for the small town that I'm in, plus a money card for each small town adjacent to it that does not have a circus tent yet, because those people come to see the show also. After I collected the money, I place a circus tent there, and no one, including myself, can perform there Again, these people have really long memories. If I go in a medium city such as Pittsburgh, then I look at the line here. Remember, there's an indicator that tracks pedestals on your personal display. Well, I get to place my circus tent in a space that is not higher than the number of pedestals. I'm in Pittsburgh. Suppose that I have 6 pedestals on my display, then I could place that one right there on a 5 and collect either 3 victory points or 2 ticket cards. And the tile that you see here gives me an extra bonus. So for example, in Pittsburgh, they really want to see dogs, and so it would count as having 2 extra temporary pedestals if I have a dog. If I have a 6 pedestals on my board and a dog with me, that would be 8, so I could place my circus tent there. As for the big cities, similar, boom. As I already mentioned, there is a requirement plus possibly other points to be had if you have a certain combination of your board on your board. Plus, if you place your tent where there is a number of points indicated on it, you collect that. So this card could give me 10, 15, 18 points if I have the right combination. I place it there, and that'd be a huge advantage. Every time we perform a show, however, Mr. Barnum wants to know what's going on, and so the Barnum Chugga Chugga Choo Choo train will move by 1 space every time that somebody performs a show. Also, again, as people perform, you will have more and more of these things, and Barnum doesn't waste time there, and he skips small towns that have circus tents. When Barnum reaches a large city, then he triggers a scoring round in which we check to see who has majority, basically who has the most circus tents in that region, and that player will score, well, the more points, and the next player will score some less, and so on and so forth. Again, probably that reminds you of El Grande. The game will be over when Barnum goes all around and goes back wherever it is that he started from, which can change depending on number of players, because not all of the board will be available at all numbers of players, but that is the idea. Either you build your tableau or you perform a show, which also makes the game get closer to the end. And at the end, you count points that, well, you should have collected some points from one-time effects during the game. Plus, there should be points indicated on your tableau. Count all of your points, and the player with the highest score wins the game. I should mention that the game has a solitaire option, which I haven't played because, well, there's quite a number of pages of extra rules, and it felt like it could be a little bit cumbersome, but that's just my feeling. As for the game itself, I like area majority and tableau building, so as I was reading the rule book, I was super excited. All the components look so nice, the art is nice, super excited. And there are elements of this game that I like a lot. However, there are also minuses that somehow I feel like, hold it back. So I like it, but I don't love it the way I hoped I would. The good stuff is like, hello, tableau building and area majority. And it can be really interesting and really fun to consider all of the different things that you can do in your tableau. Filling up a column, then it's cool because you get to play those extra cards. But the rows are much more powerful and much more important, I would say, because that's when you create the synergies. They give you pedestals, they prepare you for the big show in the big cities. But then you also have to take into account the icons that you're covering, because they will slow you down. You're covering those train icons. You're covering other good stuff. Money is super important, so if you cover the money icon, it's a problem. But then there are cards that may give you other extra icons, so that's really nice. There are cards that are one-time use, but they're really valuable in terms of money. So I personally prefer to spend them to buy to hire powerful performers rather than a one-time effect, which can be situational. If you like tableau building, there is an element of puzzle here that is very nice. However, there are times where it can be a little too rigid. You may just not have the right materials to pull off a nice combo, and the opponents do. Because there isn't a way of refreshing the display of ticket cards, there may be somebody who just has the cards to create a combo that will score hugely in a town or in a city, and you do not. And that it's weird to me that the puzzle is so nice and tight, which I like, but it's dependent on an element of randomness of which cards become available, over which you don't have pretty much any control. So that's a weird crack in the system, I would say there. There's one space on the board that lets you switch cards from one location to another. I wish there were more opportunities to do so, because then it'd be kind of really interesting and fun. I go to a city and I score big there, and then I switch and go to another city and then I score big there also. But that is not the case. There will be certain cities that objectively are less interesting to you because you just can't get them to score well. So that's a bit disappointing. Another thing is that not all the scoring possibilities are the same in the game. There are just certain things that would take you half of the game, of the resources, the opportunity cost to get them, and they're like 3 points, maybe 5. Other things are just objectively a lot better when compared to the amount of work, time, resources you need to put into those. And then there's the element of loss aversion, that is, sometimes it's a big amount of work to play a card that gives me 4 points, and that's okay, I guess. But playing it without scoring at all, I regret it. It feels wrong. There's an element, I would say, of an emotional element in which most of the times you will play a card in your tableau that may score something and they end up not scoring at all, or you already know there's no way this is going to give me anything. And so again, there's a certain unevenness in certain scoring opportunities, certain combos that pay off handsomely, and certain other ones that do not. And there's a situational element there again. Certain scoring cards, the ones you score at the end of the game, you get them, they're very good all the time. Certain other ones you have to work so hard to make them pay off that is not worth it. So as you can see, again, I like the general idea, performing to collect resources, then go back, build your tableau, then cash in victory points. The loop seems to be very nice, from collect money, build your tableau, collect victory points. How you can influence the pacing of the game is also very nice, because the more you perform, the faster the game goes. And if you feel that you're ahead, then by all means, keep performing the heck away, so that you can make the end of the game come faster. I like a lot of things, but the economy is a little too tight and claustrophobic from time to time. Essentially, I played it only a low player count. I don't know that I would enjoy playing it with 4 players, because then if the player before me goes in the place where I wanted to go and I cannot go there anymore, and I have to start planning my turn. With the economy being so tight, then I will want to take my time. But if multiple people are playing, that can kind of like kill the buzz, I fear. So I like area majority, I like scoring, I like being able to manipulate the length and pace of the game, I like tableau building. I would say I like pretty much all the components that you have in this design, but when they come together, somehow that they clash a little bit, they don't really get together, they don't feel like more than the sum of the part, they don't feel like less either, they feel just like the sum of the parts, which I guess again is kind of my feeling. It's a game that is good and good enough, but it's not as great as its components, and mechanics made me think that it would be. And this is my assessment of Three Ring Circus.